Venezuela was once a land that symbolized wealth and modern dreams, but today it stands as a dramatic economic reversal. This is the story of a nation's rise and fall.
In the early 20th century, the country was quiet and largely rural. It was a land of vast plains and sleepy villages, overlooked by the world. Everything changed when oil was discovered beneath the soil. Black gold began flowing, bringing foreign investment and a total transformation of the landscape. By the 1950s, Venezuela became one of the richest nations in Latin America. Oil revenues funded massive infrastructure, highways, and towering skyscrapers. The capital, Caracas, was often called the Miami of South America. It was a beacon of progress that attracted migrants from all over Europe. Italians, Spaniards, and Portuguese arrived in large numbers. They didn't come to flee poverty, but to chase the promise of a golden future. At its peak, the nation's per capita income rivaled Europe, and the bolivar was a symbol of stability. Oil was not just a resource, it was the national identity. But prosperity built on a single pillar is fragile. As decades passed, the nation became dangerously dependent on petroleum exports alone. Agriculture and manufacturing began to decline as the focus shifted entirely to oil. When prices were high, the country flourished, but warnings were ignored. The government spent as if the oil money would never end, expanding subsidies and state control. Instead of saving, the nation borrowed and spent more. Then the tides turned and global oil prices collapsed. Mismanagement and corruption deepened the wounds, causing oil production to vanish. To cover the gap, the government printed money on a historic scale. Hyperinflation spiraled out of control, making prices double overnight. Salaries became meaningless, and life savings evaporated instantly. Banknotes were carried in bags, worth less than the paper they were printed on. Shelves emptied and power outages became routine. A country with the world's largest oil reserves suddenly faced bitter fuel shortages. The middle class collapsed, and millions of professionals fled. Doctors and engineers began crossing borders on foot, carrying only what they could fit in bags. Families were separated as entire neighborhoods emptied. One of Latin America's richest nations became the source of a massive migration crisis. This story is a warning about the danger of over-reliance on a single resource. It shows how prosperity without diversification turns into vulnerability. Venezuela once stood as a symbol of what oil could build. Today, it stands as a reminder of what unchecked dependence can destroy.